Welcome back, guys. Thank you for coming to the Mini Matter podcast video cycle of things that we do, Lionel and I, where we talk about things that matter to us. Okay.
Mini Matters, a miniature and painting podcast.
I've just realised what your intros remind me of.
Go on.
David Brent from The Office.
Jeez. He's a personal hero of mine, so...
Is he? Right, okay.
No, I have seen The Office.
I never really watched it, but obviously I'm aware of his character and his humour and how his humour makes other people feel.
Really good. Tingly in their penis. I think I feel like I've kind of taken his humour and kind of, used it in my own way. The question is, what was I like before I watched The Office? Yeah, you can't answer that.
I didn't know.
No, of course not. And The Office was like 20 years ago or something. So that's when it came out. It was like when I was at university, something like that.
No.
Maybe longer.
I don't think it was.
Well, I mean, we could just check. Hold on. Yeah, 2001 it came out. Right, so 2001. Tangents are what the show's all about, Lionel. We've got, we're not on time constraints. Oh, I'm just trying to click my back. So yeah, 2000. Anyway, someone did say that in a comment. I'm like a mix between David Brent and Carl Pilkington. But I assure you that's not my game.
Yes. Now that you say it.
Yeah. I didn't say it. Someone else did.
Yeah. I don't know why, but it's just when you do that intro, it just clicks then, David Brent.
Which it's an interesting one because obviously I'm not going to deny it, but his character is playing an obnoxious person who doesn't know they're nice blokes, but he's a bit like self-absorbed. Yeah, I mean, there
is that, but there's that element of should I be laughing now or shouldn't be laughing? Is he being serious?
Yeah, right.
Or is he not? Should I laugh with him?
Yeah, or at him, or just be awkward.
Yeah. It's that awkward.
Well, interestingly, kind of I had an accident when I was cycling like 13 years ago now. Like that's where that scar's from. We spoke about it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and all my teeth got smashed up. Right, I think I chipped like 15 teeth. Like some of the molars got cut in half. Anyway, I was chewing a sandwich the other day at a Christmas party, not Christmas party, Poppy's party, and I was like, and then there was this crunch, and I was like, oh shit, there's some of my tooth in it. And that tooth there now, like you see, it's all missing.
Right.
Bit of tooth fell out. From a filling, though. That was a filling that they filled in 13 years ago. It's tough, isn't it?
Once again,
that's it.
If I could map our conversations, I would have no idea. I didn't know where that had come from, how it linked, where we were going.
I just rubbed my tongue on it. I remembered, so I was going to bring it up. So this episode today, what you got for me?
Right, I bring my brain back to where I'm just also thinking about teeth now. So the discussion topic I wanted to talk to you today about, Jamie, was wishlisting. If we could have any IP we wanted, money was no object. And let's throw in what company as well. That would be nice. If we could have any IP we wanted brought to a display miniature market, so that's not gaming, stuff painted purely for display purposes.
Yeah.
What IP would you have? And if you want to go that far, what company would you like to see bring it? And like I said, we can talk about the commercial aspect of it, but we're fully aware that some of the IPs we want, it's just not fiscally sound for a company to buy the rights and produce it because there's no money in it. The only company who would do silly decisions whereby they, spend over the odds.
Dragonhead.
Dragonhead models.
Right, yeah. Good brand, actually, that. Well, I actually filed my taxes. And because that's a sole trader, I got a huge tax rebate. And I must have saved.
Because it's making such a loss.
Yeah, seriously. Because it's at such a huge loss. It's like, so... And I'm not even joking. My accountant was like, oh, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot, isn't it? That's really good because we can offset that now. And you'll save. I saved like, wait, I'll tell you. So yeah, basically that was a huge loss. But I don't consider it money comes and goes, except for when you really need to pay for your bills and like the service charge and stuff like that.
Apart from when that tax bill.
Yeah. But otherwise, like before, like
goes.
that year before you get to when they ask for that money, what would you rather have, money or memories? So
you have good memories of Dragon Head models, though.
That's my point. Yeah. So I'm saying that without spending all that money.
Oh right.
Yeah, I think so. Some less fond. But generally, even when it goes tits up, like I'm not that annoyed by it, Even when the sculptor says, I won't change that because...
You can weather the loss, that's why.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I knew that I could write it off as tax. So, who's laughing? Actually, I didn't realise it would be that.
Taxman.
Yeah. I mean, the taxman gets his money anyway, doesn't he? Either way, if it's through my limited or it's through me, I still get it. Anyway, so... Yes, I think.
So yeah. So just to elaborate, just to set the ground. So obviously, before we entered miniature painting, display miniature painting, a good 10 to probably 15 years ago now, maybe longer, you had Night Models who held the IP to a lot of things such as Star Wars, Marvel.
They must have got it for cheap, mustn't they?
Yeah, I sent you some photos that I thought.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's jump
in the background. Yeah,
well,
I mean they can rotate.
I didn't.
Yeah. So, and obviously back then maybe they were more affordable, and obviously those miniatures are quite difficult to get a hold of now. They've become collector's items, and then more recently we've seen IPs be involved in games. So we've seen Atomic Mass get the Marvel rights, and obviously the one showing there, which has been extremely popular in its last 3 incarnations, is Simon Games with the Marvel United. Game.
Isn't that Big Child? I thought. Oh, so Big Child was the studio that painted it.
Yeah. So Simon Games, which are a huge board game.
Simon Games.
Simon, C and then MON.
Oh, okay. Cool Mini or not? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The forum. Yeah. I don't know why this isn't playing.
So So they've started, and although they're a board game, I know people are buying that not for the game but for the models, because as you can see behind me, I did the first 2 waves, and the third wave has been on Kickstarter now. There is no way the game requires that many add-ons and has that much variety in game style that warrants that many releases. The reason it's doing so well on Kickstarter is because people are buying it because they want the models to paint. And it shows with the amount of money they're raising on the Kickstarters that there is a healthy profit to be made there in terms of releasing IP models if the right manufacturer's behind it. So looking at the past,
I did wonder what their profit margins were, because they're getting, what was it, 6 million, 5.6 million?
Huge. I don't know. I mean, I've not looked at the latest one, but I know the last 2 were big, and I think the second wave was even bigger because people had missed out on the first one. And
I did. We both did, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I've just backed this one a bit more for modest back.
Oh, you did back it, did you?
Well, I sat back, and then obviously the problem, not the
Kickstarter
problem,
exclusives.
Yeah, I mean, there's an extra already 60 models almost, which are just
it's unbelievable.
Free.
Yeah.
So so it's one of those. So the question that I wanted to ask you now is how realistic it is that we can get an IP or a big IP. What one would you like to see? I mean, obviously not limited to movies. It's whatever you want. And for bonus points, what company would you like to produce it? So, you first.
I mean, I feel like they should probably, but probably Games Workshop would be my first law. I would, like, joking aside,
as the producer of, okay,
but like, do you know what? Maybe not even. No, I don't even think I'd want Games Workshop producing the models, but I'd like that IP. Like I would like, for example.
I know where it was. I was hoping you wouldn't go this route, but. Let's see.
But it's not just Elder.
Pray tell Jamie, what IP from Games Workshop would you like?
40k. No, it's not just
any particular race.
Well, honestly though, I think it's such a huge thing or sadness that they don't do it. You know, they're giving their IP away to so many other companies, gaming companies. Obviously, it's because there's healthy profit in them. You know, they can say with almost no risk whatsoever, give us, I don't know what contracts they're going to do, but let's say 20% of your profit or turnover or whatever to these indie game companies who are doing their IP, right? All those games aren't in any way financially backed by Games Workshop. So, and I wouldn't trust Games Workshop to make 75mm models, to be honest with you.
I think the issue with Games Workshop, why Games Workshop don't do it, is because the lion's share of their audience,
Yeah,
I would go as
there's
far
not
as
enough money, right?
90%. They're gamers.
Yeah,
They're gamers
yeah.
first and foremost. And I know certain gamers who could be using drafts, you know, or tiddlywinks,
yeah,
because
for the game.
because they're just chess pieces on a board. And obviously, there's varying degrees, but I reckon 80 to 90% are pure gamers. They have no interest in painting purely for display.
Yeah.
If you look at how niche Golden Demon is and what the turnout for Golden Demon is,
considering it's a
have,
£4 billion company, and they get 500 people in a hall clapping. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's my that's like my big life goal, but it's not to belittle it.
And once again, Golden Demon is there primarily to sell the gaming pieces, because then little Joe can see that Eldar that's been painted and he knows he can go to his GW and buy it. I wonder whether if a piece that had won the Slave Sword was a 75mm display piece, whether it would have the same retail impact. Then
it is quite intimidating, and I don't think many people.
I don't think it would.
As me as a kid, right? I don't know when did this like infatuation with large. Probably when Forge World started doing the large scale stuff. I was like, do you remember? You must have remembered when that came out, the Imperial Space Marine.
Yeah.
Like when that came out, I was immediately struck by how much I loved it, but I couldn't afford it. It was, you know, as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old kid, couldn't afford it, but I knew I wanted it. And then the Baden came out and the Goblins and stuff, and I knew I wanted them, but I still didn't buy them. So it didn't. So
they just did a video about pronouncing Warhammer names correctly. Games Workshop did it.
Oh, really?
And one of them was Abaddon. Everybody pronounces it Abaddon. It's Abaddon.
That's
Abaddon. Sorry, Abaddon.
Abaddon.
His name's Abaddon.
That sounds fake.
Abaddon.
Abaddon. I mean, who are they to say what the name pronunciations are anyway?
It's like they created the name and IP.
Yeah, but probably the people who created it aren't there anymore. Anyway, yeah, okay. Abaddon.
But going back to that point you made, they did venture into it. One assumes if it had been making money and it had cotton on, it would still be there today, and it would have been a line they would have continued.
Yeah.
But it probably, I'm guessing it didn't, because otherwise, why discontinue it?
I basically, my view on it is if it was able to turn a profit, they would be doing it, because, but you know, that's the logical view. Like, you for years they were doing stupid stuff as well, weren't they? Like, their new CEO is a bit more savvy. Their old guys were just butchering the community, doing whatever the hell they wanted, and they were close to going bankrupt. So
they were more shareholder based. I mean, all companies, let's be honest, are shareholder focused. But I think the old regime were a bit more unapologetically shareholder.
It was just it was stupid, and anybody with any business mind would say relationships is, especially in the game, primarily where people overspend and want to love. You know, they feel a huge affinity to the company. It's a pretty stupid thing to do.
Okay, so let's say you want display pieces of Eldar. Let's get this one out the gates to begin with, and get it in the back.
No. I would buy other armies.
Who would you like to have the IP? Is there a miniature company at the moment that you think would do a good job with that IP?
I mean, Eldar, I would probably do the best job. Other people, I mean, what companies are there really? Black Sun.
Yeah, see, so for me,
you'd need to. I think you'd have to tailor. They could have some of the fantasy armies, and then they do that, and then somebody else who's good at sci-fi, like like Big Child doesn't really fit in there. There's loads of. I basically don't know that many companies. Okay, right line on there. You've got it. You've won this round.
I mean, no, I know. For me, I think the front runner would be Black Sun.
Yeah.
In my view, I still think. I still always say this. They have got the best catalog in terms of quality and diversity.
Yeah, it's big.
In my view, they're the one company. Ironically enough, I haven't I haven't got one yet. But they're the one company. I think that's because they've got such a good range. They're the one company that I look at it and I could throw a dart and pretty much anything I hit, I'd be happy with.
But you don't have a
and it's
single
probably
Black
why-
Sun.
I've got a couple that I've done on courses, but another thing with Black Sun is because their miniatures are so good in my view. I wanted to be at a certain stage where
Yeah, you don't.
I was
you
able
don't
to
screw
do
them over.
justice. I think I'm there now where I could give them a go.
Yeah.
I think the issue is just is finding. I basically want the Barbarian. I want the Conan-esque Barbarian. It's been out of stock for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, Black Sun for me. Black Crow Miniatures are a good miniature company. I also think Big Child do more than just obviously what you're seeing on the screen now. They have got a range now. Is it a Song of Fire or a Song of where
really?
basically they're doing female heroes, I think both in 75mm and busts. Ignis Art do some really good.
Yeah, but these aren't lending themselves, in
female-
my opinion, these companies to 40k. I think you'd have to do a different IP. That's
I'm talking at the minute in terms of what I view as top shelf companies in
right.
the
Who
display
could possibly
miniature.
do any display stuff?
Any display stuff. Yeah, I'm not saying for 40k.
Because I think that's an important thing, like picking the company's feel and where their passions are with the IPs. You know, like because I think
Well,
that
this
would
is
make
the
a
other
big difference. Actually, like it'd be like me picking
Yeah.
a sculptor who, like Patrick, excellent with like beasts and feathers and the anatomy and stuff. But I'd say his strongest point isn't like, human anatomy or faces and stuff, right? And then you've got people like, who's that other bloke? Hold on, I've worked with him. He's a French man. They're both French. Zach Valentine, like really good with creatures, like, and also like goblins or caricatures or these kind of things. Like, it's got an amazing style for it. And then you've got Black Sun, like Joaquim, who doesn't do
Joaquin.
traditional anymore, but he does digital, and he's obviously exceptionally good at barbarians, like where they're over the top big, like they so like I think I'd try and pick sculptors who are like good at certain things. I don't know who's really good at Elder at the moment though, so it's a tricky one. In fact, I'd go as far as saying there are no sculptors out there who are good at Elder except for Juan Diaz.
The yeah, I can't come back on more Elder talk. I just have to be like, okay, I'll take your opinion on it. The other thing that I realised as well is there is a lot of miniatures or models out there now with the 3D printing world opening up and people selling STL files. The other question is, do they need to license it to a corporation that traditionally produces models, or do they just license the print? So one of the things that I bought recently, which I understand is a officially licensed design, which has then been officially reproduced and printed by Oliver Spath, who through his Etsy store, is the Ninja Turtle.
So he managed to get the things for that, did he?
Yeah, so he's got an Etsy store now where he does some fantastic 3D prints where he gets the official license from the designer. And one assumes that designer has a license to design it and produce it anyway. And then he prints them off and he sells the 3D prints. And the quality of the skull that's come through from Leonardo is amazing. The piece itself
is it the
is
80s
amazing.
or the 90s style? Is it?
It's more comic book accurate, I would say. So
right.
since the turtles have been since the turtles have been redone, so there's the turtles that have been done by, is it Boom Studios? What is it? I haven't started reading them yet, but basically the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics, which have done by the same studios that have done the Power Rangers comics and the Transformers, where they've taken old child IPs but made a more adult storyline and content.
Right, so some sort of Jeopardy, and they'll cut people's heads off, or
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I'm going to start reading them. I can't say because I haven't started reading them
Right,
yet.
right, right.
But for example, the last Ronin, which is one that they've done recently, there's only one turtle left. It's in the near future. One turtle's left. Three of the brothers have died, and you don't know until you've read the story which turtle has survived and who that turtle is.
That's cool.
And
Yeah.
obviously, they're a lot darker as a result of losing their brothers. So there's that. But so yeah, it's like that. It's more from my view, taken from the IP of the comic books, where they are cartoony, but there's a darker edge to them. They're somewhere between the new movies and
Yeah.
the comic books.
Yeah.
But going back, the quality of that sculpt, the quality of that piece is amazing. Now, whether it be financially viable to produce that as a resin produced piece that a company has on the shelf and sells, I don't know. But
Yeah. I suppose the thing is, I suppose Oliver's selling casts. I don't think he'd be printing all of them. He must print one off and then get them cast. Otherwise, surely it's too cost ineffective.
prints. No, because he's running. I mean, these printers now. My mates. I'm looking at getting one actually. My mates bought a. Is it an 8K one he's running? And what they're producing and how quickly they produce it, they are good. You know, we're getting to the point now where it's no longer that experimental. So
well, Games Workshop would never release. I don't think Games Workshop would produce a line and then open it up to STL, because then everyone would say, "Why don't you just produce your models?" It would be. And
I mean, to be honest, I think Games Workshop are the ones who are going to fight against it because, look, if you go on, I haven't gone on myself, but from my understanding, it's not that hard to find illegal files. Of
those models.
That you can buy in the shops.
Well, I mean, I for one hope 3D never gets that big, because then companies like Games Workshop won't be able to produce like there are a lot of, well, there aren't that, not that I know of anyway, but like Raul Latorre, he stopped doing his miniatures because he was just getting recast. And I think knowing now like how clear it is, like if you're an individual, like Games Workshop can afford to lose probably, I don't know, arbitrarily, let's say 20% of their revenue or something to recasts. I've no idea what the numbers are. But then a bloke who let's say Dragonhead, who's already losing money, but then like, you know, let's say I make 20 sales on a model and then it gets recast. That's it. You're dead. So like, there's been a lot of companies that have closed down because of recasting. And STL's not recasting, but
I don't look. Nobody's arguing, and me particularly in my job.
Yeah, I'm talking to the viewers.
Is arguing that it's right in terms of that where you don't own the IP. Just because it happens to be on the internet, you know, it's no different to watching a pirated film or an illegal copy of a film rather than watching it through a streaming service. It's no different. It's theft. It wasn't that I was kind of getting at. It was more of a case of, if they do that, it makes it difficult for them to draw the boundaries of what's official and what's not. I still think they still make too much money from producing the product themselves.
I don't think
it's cheaper for them. It's cheaper because they've got all the facilities at Nottingham and everywhere. It's cheaper for them. I mean, they used to produce their paint in China because it was cheaper. It's now cheaper to produce the paint in their head office where they're based. So that's where their real money comes from. There's no point in them selling.
Yeah, would make sense. Like the only small advantage on STLs are they have no production costs. Their bloke in a studio can write it, create it. They don't need to print it. They don't have those overheads. But then one person creates it, unless there was some way of like creating a file that self-destructs or something which doesn't exist. But like you can only print it once, for example, or you can only print it in a 24-hour window. So if you make an error, then you can, but whatever. But that doesn't exist. But
For me, the one thing I don't understand is the IP. So obviously there is stuff out there, you know, where on official sites where you're seeing Lionel. So, you know, going back to that point, some of the stuff that I would like to, because obviously the topic is what would you like to see
Oh yeah,
IP
let's
from
get
new
back to
stuff.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be stuff from my childhood, nostalgia. So that's one of the main reasons I bought.
that's
that
what I was
Turtle.
thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Thundercats, He-Man, good
Yeah.
quality, and
Top
maybe
quality.
updated, obviously, because if it's a direct copy,
Yeah, it
it'll
doesn't
look a bit
work, does
childish
it?
now.
Yeah.
So you'd kind of want it you'd want the spirit of the character there, but you'd want them obviously updated and probably a bit more realistic, a bit more
Well,
gritty.
I was having this conversation with Albert and now. They were like, just because there's an artwork or a character, you don't have to have a sculpt made from it. And I was like, please. Because obviously I get a lot of things sculpted that I enjoy, mostly Elder. But it got me to thinking on, like, yeah, you're kind of right, you don't need to. But at the same time, how cool would it be to have? And then I was thinking, like, there's loads of characters. Like, it was interesting that I've never got or even had any desire whatsoever to have like a Naruto made from the mangas, like a famous scene that I remember, or like I've never thought about doing it, and I always wondered, is it because anime doesn't bode well to painting? Because so like basically the point you're saying, if you got a direct rip from the 90s cartoons or an anime, it's very like, so you'd have to have a concept artist come up with it, take the IP, and then I was like, I think it would be quite nice to have some 90s stuff, like where it's like really anime style, and then it would be quite nice to reinvent the character a little bit with the IP, a bit more adult. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Thundercats with Schnarf. I used to say Schnarf all the time. I mean, I was quite young, so
one of my favorite characters growing up was Kaneda from Akira.
Yeah, right. But that was the film, right? It's not a TV show.
Akira.
Is it?
Akira's the film, yeah.
Yeah.
The one with the motor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I thought you. Yeah,
So
I just wanted to check.
Kaneda was the lead, obviously the cool one, the leader from the gang who had the red bike and the.
Well, if you're going to go down nostalgia route, like, because that's what I thought at the beginning of the show. I was like, I'd probably want to do Mario because of how much I played it. But then I was like, that's not a really good model, like, in a way, though, is it? Like, and I don't think a fat, small plumber bodes well to, like making, like, an adult version in proportion to everyone else. But I did think, like, oh, no, I've lost it. When I went to Mario,
Sorry.
I had it, though. It was really good. It was like, hold on. Yeah, what I would love, but only because of what I remember, but I don't think it would, but it would be Hook. So Peter Pan, Hook.
Okay.
From that whole, like, somehow that was like extreme magic. Like, I wonder if we should show an image of Hook.
You know what? Actually, that as well, in terms of finding the right company, I think Ignis Art would do a good rendition of that.
Now, Ignis Art is the female producer lady, is that right?
Yeah, but a lot of it is folklore and fairy tale.
Oh, I see.
And was it Nordic themed characters? They did a release of Nordic themed characters. So playing into that fantasy, into that kind of, but there's a bit of an edge to their pieces as well. Yeah. So Peter Pan and Wendy and Hook, but with a slight edge to it.
Right, where they're a bit more like German original folklore, like they're a bit darker, I guess. Like Hansel and Gretel get eaten.
Yeah, we're not talking Disney.
Yeah.
We're not talking Disney.
Yeah, well, goodness me. I mean, what would I most want? I mean, realistically, the thing I'd want most is probably Elder 75. That's what I'm chasing in my life, right? Just saying. Like, if I and I would love, like, think about all the Monty or SMC, the display pieces, like Eric Swinson painted that bloke who's angry in his Blood Angel. And like, but the 75.
Oh, Mephiston.
Yeah. Like,
Mephiston.
Yeah, Mephiston. So, like, I've seen what you can do with that IP, with a talented sculptor, with a good concept. It is brilliant. Obviously, for the the sake of conversation, it's difficult because the TV show I watched the most as a kid was probably Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because then it had the computer game on the NES, right? The platform based one.
Yeah.
and I had the t-shirts. I even had a truck that they got from the charity shop, and I like we had the things like that. I mean, I loved it. So
so my youngest, who's 4, we found Turtles on Netflix, the new version,
Yeah,
the
right,
Netflix film. And I said to her, "Oh, do you want to watch this?" Because I'm trying to get her to watch something different other than Loud House and Muppet Babies on. And she went, "Oh yeah, Daddy, I'll watch it." And it's interesting how kids, as soon as there's different colours, they will pick their favourite purely on colour.
yeah, right,
And obviously, you
right.
realise now. I mean, it's obviously with Power Rangers, with Turtles.
Yeah,
It was the basis of
give
all
them
of it.
colours. Yeah,
In fact, yeah. So she watched it and she loved it. She goes, "I love it. I want to watch it. Can I watch more Turtles?" And I went, "You know what? I'll show you the Turtles Daddy watched when he was young.
she hated it.
You're gonna love this." And I found it on YouTube. Oh God, they're awful. They're awful.
Are they really?
The animation is like, what's the animation always at? Jerky.
It's hand drawn,
Once
isn't
again,
it?
yeah, but once again, you realise how far things have moved along. Like, I mean, they're really exaggerating the characters in the Netflix one, where obviously Raphael is huge, and then they look completely. Whereas back in the day, they just if they didn't have the different colours,
you could not. That's the same drawing. Yeah, that drawing artist knew how to draw a turtle.
Yeah, and likewise with the old '90s film as well, they were exactly the same.
Yeah, but that
rubber suit
led it. That led. Oh God, those films were absolutely brilliant. I have to watch.
But I watched a few clips with there and said, "Look, shall we watch this again?" And actually,
the Ooze.
Those films have aged, yeah. Well, those films have aged better because actually, those guys doing those moves and martial arts in those suits is amazing. Is amazing. And there's something about obviously once they're talking.
Yeah, the puppet.
It's in comparison to. I do enjoy the new ones, but you can tell they're not there.
Yeah. The effect. Yeah, the Michael Bay, is it like?
Yeah.
The puppets are great, aren't they? Really, and they make things look a lot realer.
Some things they got better, but obviously, yeah. Don't do yourself a favor. Don't. And I haven't had the heart to go back and watch Thundercats again because I used to love Thundercats, and I think
want to spoil it.
I think that's probably. I think that's just best left as a memory because I remember that being dark and amazing, and I think of and always ending on a laugh.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I remember one episode so clearly where there's a tunnel that the further you're in, you get, the older you get. I don't know if you remember that episode.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, fuck me. And then Cheetah runs in. She's like, "Don't worry, I've got this." And then she comes back, an old hag. She's like, "Oh, I'm so old." I don't know why I remember that episode.
Actually, it goes back to that, and that's what inspired me to buy this turtle. It goes back to Stephen.
Stephen the creator.
Stephen the Garcia.
Oh, real Stephen the Garcia.
Yeah. His Lionel piece.
Yeah, right.
Is a perfect example of. It's clearly Lionel, but that is not a direct representation of Lionel.
It's got some realism in there.
Yeah. If we can make it a more modern take and give it a bit of an edge, what would Lionel look like now? That's it. And it's that piece that kind of captured my heart when I saw it online, and then again in person. And that's what made me think, actually, I'm going to buy that turtle, and that's going to be the piece I'm going to do. And in terms of that nostalgia kick, and
it's really well done, isn't it? To be honest,
yeah.
I don't know who the sculptor was, but yeah, I'm not sure either. I wonder how his class went. Has he had his class yet? I think it was in January, wasn't it?
Yeah, they all did classes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I should probably go to more what I enjoy now at the moment, which is anime. I mean, my favourite anime at the moment is Demon Slayer. It's
right, I'm aware of it.
Lionel,
I know it's big.
Let me tell you, it's really good.
Right, I know we're going off key here, but I've got a confession. So obviously, I'm rediscovering my love of comic books and collecting. I'm really struggling getting back into manga or getting into manga.
Why?
So the first thing there is clearly a cultural difference in terms of one drawings, the stories. Now, I'm reading Fist of the North Star, which I've got the first 5 books there. I'm enjoying that. I loved the manga when I watched it as a kid, well, underage when I shouldn't have done, and I'm enjoying that. But it's very base. I'm noticing there isn't much depth to it. So book 6 could be book 1, I mean, he's always got somebody he needs to fight, and then he
Yeah.
batters them, and it's very.
There's level. Yeah,
another-
yeah, manga and anime do follow a very. I mean, for the last like 20 years, you know what's going to happen. Protagonist, a love interest, some best friends. They struggle. They're about to lose. They get a little bit more angry. They level up instantly during a fight. They win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and it's got some very aged tropes.
Well, I think that's the cultural thing as well, because that's still in modern, very much in modern. I don't know what we're talking about specifically, but like, it's a bit more patriarchal, maybe.
There's that, but it's also quite. So obviously, if you go back and read some of the old DC and Marvel, some of the Golden Age stuff, it is very basic.
Yeah.
But if you pick up the new stuff, it's aged. There's stuff there for a mature audience. I'm reading his stuff now, manga, and thinking, really? You know, for example, there is a little girl in trouble. The most vulnerable individual you can get is always in trouble.
Well, it works. I mean, that's why it's there, Lionel. I mean, it pulls in your heartstrings, mate.
But it's tired, though, isn't it? So, and the one that I am also enjoying is I'm not going to pronounce his surname, but he's a very well-known horror writer and manga. His work is really good. And in fact, they've just done a Netflix show where they've adapted some of his more popular short stories. I'm really enjoying him. And I did pick up One Punch Man. And I've read it twice now. I read it once.
What volumes?
And I had just number one, Jamie. Yeah. I read it once and I thought, I'm going to reserve, because I know you're a big fan of it, I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm going to come back and read it again. Maybe I didn't read it. And I read it again. I really don't like it. I really don't. And I know it's been adapted from a webcomic or something that this guy has done.
It's pretty accurate, to be honest.
I think what they've done is obviously they've updated the drawing to make it more palatable. But one thing they haven't done, and you can't really do, is update the story. So what you've got is a higher level drawing.
Yeah, they do. They do. There's
bad.
some really like awkward things in the webcomic which they update, like some plot holes, some dialogue. Like it is updated, but the general theme is there. I mean, if you don't like it, you just don't have a sense of humor, I guess, and that's fine, Lionel.
I guess that it's meant to be ironic, but does it really need 27 volumes? I mean,
well, it progresses, doesn't it?
I struggled to get to the end because it was like, oh, here we go, another super being, and he's punched him once and he's dead again.
But his struggle isn't. You're looking at it the wrong. I mean, I shouldn't have to persuade you. If you get it, you get it. But his struggle isn't. His struggle is that he's bored of life. And he's bored of
exactly.
Yeah, he that's the struggle. Is the thing that you get enjoyment from isn't him killing the monsters. It's the whole thing of it's just Well, it is. It's satire on anime or manga that you were just talking about. It's predictable. Little girls, they level up every battle. There's no real jeopardy, right? Whereas he's coming in, he's it's basically like getting to level 99 in a computer game, and then you just one hitting everyone.
I get it.
Yeah, you just don't like it.
I get it. I just understand how it's run so long.
Well, basically, after about volume 10, he stops being like in it so much. It follows the other characters a bit more.
Okay.
Like because
the one I might watch the anime because the anime's on Netflix and see if that. But I think the anime is just only an adaptation of book one anyway, which I've already read.
No, it's not. Volume. The anime is season 3. No, the anime goes to season 2, and that's like volume I don't know, probably like 16 or something.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think probably like 10 volumes is probably season 1. I think.
Going back though, it's my fault that I've taken this a bit from the time.
Well, I mean, it's a talk show host line. Well, it's not at all, is it? But yeah, I think we can have topic changes. But to get back to unless you had something actually very poignant on that one.
No, I think manga is ripe for
for some and there's no one else doing it.
What I don't know if you see them, but obviously there's that Prime Studio Collectibles. Have you seen them? The guys that do the big premium figures that you piece together, and they're huge, and they're about £2,000-3,000 each, and they sell them in the hundreds. If you look at Prime Studio Collectibles, they do all major IPs. So
right, I see. So they actually really do everything.
Yeah, if they've made a film of it, they've done it, and obviously they're very high end pieces.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they're still obviously factory produced, and they are hand painted to a degree where somebody does some touch ups.
I've seen, so that's who does it. Yeah, they've got YouTube videos actually. The painters are pretty damn good. They use airbrush a lot, and and that explains why they're so expensive.
Yeah, but also these things sell a lot, you know, and they're huge as well. They're huge. They come in boxes which are the size of people, and then you put the pieces together. But they sell really well, and it's a really big market of people who just collect. I mean, and they're not cheap. Yeah. They're not cheap. They're about £2,000 or £3,000 each.
The sculpts are fantastic. I was looking at some of these there's a shop in London, Dark Studio, Dark Sphere or something, and they've got a load of them, and some of these sculpts like are really good just for the dynamicism and like the
So once again, looking at this, and the retail on each of those, and looking at Simon Games with the Marvel United and how well they've done. Is there a market now for display pieces where you can make a decent profit from it?
Well, this whole, I don't know what to call it, but like genre of whatever has been around for a really long time, hasn't it? So like,
what's that? Collect?
Yeah, like this type of collector thing. Stuff.
Yeah.
So it's been around for a long time. So I wonder though why this is so popular, and yet ours is so unpopular.
Because you don't have to do anything with this.
Yeah, you don't have to paint it, right?
No, you just put it together.
Then what do you do with it? Just leave it on your desk or in your same as here, right? Like in the cabinet.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. They're collectors, aren't they? They just want a cabinet full of these pieces.
Yeah.
And they're limited to a degree. And the other, I mean, I know we're moving now more into the toy realm, but the other person who's made a good living out of just selling collectible figures now is McFarlane. McFarlane figures,
that's all they do, right?
Are huge. And once again, there are people who are buying those more from a collector's perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're crossing the boundaries now into collectors, and
well, I suppose it's relating. It's like, could this be? Could you make such a big? Because I wonder if, because then why don't you just like, what the heck's that? Why don't you just make our models pre-painted? You know, and then is there as big a market, or does it have to be this, like higher?
I don't think us as painters.
Well, not for us, but you'd be trying to get to a different market, wouldn't you? Like have a 75 or 120 mil model, and then try and, if you can, somehow factory paint them. I don't know if it would work, but like what is it? Because it's PVC, it's made, and it's more durable, and you can't chip it, you can't break it really.
I don't know. I think they are shipped with care. I mean, if you see the boxes, if you see people doing unboxes of these things, you know, the package it comes in could withstand a bomb blast.
And they're so much more detailed. I mean, they're. I mean, you got to remember as well, these are lit in a certain way. So don't get me wrong, the paint job is good for a factory standard, but obviously those display pieces you're seeing there are lit. You know, there's obviously coloured lighting, filtered lighting on there to make it look more cinematic. Right, and that's someone's cabinet, so that's what they do.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Yeah, I mean, I think if Prime One Studio are killing it, we could get that with. I mean, to be honest, yeah, I think DC and Marvel would be amazing. Think of the dioramas you could get with these guys. You know, in like Black Sun with their. But, you know, just any diorama that you could buy. Like Forge World did it with the Primaris, right? So
Primaris.
Yes, sorry, my Space Marine lore. Yeah, like, so there's definitely a market for it, because if they sold as well at 32 mil scale, I believe that DC and Space and Games Workshop would sell.
I think the difference with because obviously we got Atomic Mass who are doing Marvel Crisis Protocol. The difference with them is obviously they've bought the IP, but their release rate and also the audience, because they're gamers first and foremost. Once again, I've been in store where I've been playing against people who don't have painted models. They're not there because of the model.
Mm.
They're there to play the game, and the game's very good.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily follow that because a 32mm game
Yeah, I get
has
you.
had success with IP,
Yeah.
that a display model will have that kind of success with an IP. And I think you hit the nail on the head as well. When Night Models were doing it, the IP was a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Since then,
Yeah.
Marvel has been bought by Disney.
Yeah, it's a global
Disney
thing, isn't
know
it?
how,
Yeah.
yeah, Disney know how to sell IP. When Night Models were doing it, the MCU didn't exist. So we now got the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Disney own the rights.
Yeah, you're never going to buy that, are they? Not for some tangible profit. Yeah.
I think the one to go after at the minute is probably DC, on the basis that they haven't blown up yet. And I think it will blow up now. I think now that James Gunn's in charge and they've got a plan, I think they will blow up. But I think that's possibly the IP that at the minute doesn't feel too good about itself, and you can get it quite cheap.
Yeah, I wonder who do you even approach and like that kind of stuff. And it would be cool though to have.
Well, Night Models have retained DC, so Night Models.
Oh, have they really?
Game. Yeah, they do the Batman miniatures game, and Night Models isn't a big company, so for them to be able to afford the IP in order to do the Batman and DC miniatures game, it must be affordable.
Might have to text them. The trouble is, I like Elder too much. But I would love to see some things like, even with characters that aren't in the MCU, there's so many cool characters. But then you wouldn't sell, so maybe from a business point of view, that's a stupid thing to do. But yeah, if I had to pick in my order, it'd be Games Workshop 40k first.
Okay.
To be honest, because I would just love. There's so many characters like even that aren't Elder that I would like, and from fantasy like some orc guys. And I think if you opened up that IP to busts and to 75mm, you would have a lot of cool. Like if they just said for 2 years there's no IP, we remove all IPs, for example. I think you'd get an insane amount of good miniatures, and then I'd probably be picking. The problem with the cartoon stuff is I think it's too difficult, and you can't see what the concepts are going to be like. So you don't have a clear image in my head already of what that stuff would look like. Even though I think you could do good stuff with it, it was still. If you move too far away from our kids as a cartoon, we're not getting our nostalgia. So it's kind of like, what are we buying into? So yeah, and then anime, I don't have the strong enough feelings to want those in big scale, really. Even though Demon Slayer's amazing.
I think the most affordable IP, but also the hardest one to shift, would be book-based characters.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many books that I would. I mean, Lord of the Rings, the films I tried to expunge from my memory because I don't really like the films didn't live up to any kind of expectation to me from the books. And I'm glad that when I read the books, I still don't see the Lord of the Rings films, guys, which is quite good. But I think that's probably Tolkien in the way he explains it. But growing up, that was what I wanted more than anything ever, was miniatures of Lord of the Rings. But yeah, I think Games Workshop, then probably MCU or Marvel, and probably DC. That's my list. I'm waiting for your list. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Mine
sorry.
Mine would be probably stocked heavily in nostalgia. So, Ninja Turtles range, or those 80s cartoons like He-Man, Lionel, Thundercats. Scooby-Doo, but a realistic dark twist on the Scooby-Doo gang would be quite interesting as well.
Yeah.
Well,
I think,
and then I think
that's true.
And then I think if I had to go with a comic book house, I would like to probably see some independent stuff like The Boys or Invincible, or some characters who don't get. I think Marvel gets enough screen time that we probably don't need them. And then if I was going to go for a main powerhouse, it would be DC, because I still think DC's got so much untapped potential in terms of Batman, the Bat Family, the Rogues Gallery, a decent sculpt of Superman. So probably DC.
I think you could do some cool with any flying character. You could do some cool things, or try to. Yeah, the
and then 80s muscle movies. So like
Rambo.
Predator,
Yeah,
Terminator, Rambo, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And then seeing them in resin would be really nice. You know, real
Mm.
like printed resin grey would be cool.
I
Actually,
love that Hulk paint job.
yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? The old
So
silver.
good. I mean, obviously they've done really well in terms of that style, which they started the first one, but you can see the evolution through the ones that they've done. That I really love that. I mean, that one, you look at it and you struggle to see that it's a 3D model.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Mm.
And I do. I will be there soon, Lionel. Give it like 5 years.
Well, we've got enough to practice with, haven't we?
Yeah, I know. I actually just bought the starter set because my
Bought it.
yeah the one I backed, the
I thought you were
$400 one I backed didn't come with a starter set. The core game.
You're joking.
No, I didn't. So
No, it must have done. It must have done. What did you back? Did you back X-Men?
yeah, but I only backed like a $40 one, and then I went in the pledge manager and added stuff after the initial bit, but still within the time. So I got the Kickstarter excuses, but I checked.
Yeah, but you'd have the X-Men starter set.
No,
so you
I
do
didn't
have a
get the starter set. I didn't have the core game with like the originals, like Captain America, Hulk.
Yeah, but you've got a core game in the X-Men one.
I see. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah. They wouldn't say so. Like this one, the multiverse one. If you back it, the first pledge is to back the core game. So they're all core games in their own right.
Yeah, I'm with you.
What you're saying is you wanted the classic characters.
Yeah, and I didn't know. So put those two things
I
together.
I think that's amazing that you went all in and you still had to go out and buy
Right.
another box off retail.
They're a lot more expensive in retail.
Oh yeah,
they are too expensive. I think we can wrap up.
Yeah.
Ask people.
So I know haven't we got what we painted? Just quickly.
All right. Sorry to sound so disappointed. Hold on one sec. Oh right, I didn't mean to land on this. Actually, I didn't think I would, but all right. Well, there you go. Oh fucking hell, it's all going up. Well, I don't know why it's doing it in the other order. So these aren't quite finished in this photo, but it's the closest I got to it. Obviously, I've done the gems and the laser pointers. You will see.
Because obviously you just pause it. Now we're just looking at pieces.
Right.
This is a bit that we're doing each episode now because people have asked to see what we're doing.
Yeah, this is what we're painting.
Each episode we're going to look at something we painted this week.
Yep, which is obviously what we.
And it's also to keep Jamie honest in the sense that he then needs to be painting regularly to be able to put something on.
So, I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I wanted to paint two of these, because I think there's two in a photo in one of the magazines. But in the Elder Project, strictly speaking, I only need one of them. Now, I'll be honest, painting yellow on black is a nightmare. I don't wish that.
You did it on a black background, but black base.
Just got to do what you got to do, Lionel. No, I think I undercoated it white. I think I wasn't that stupid. But the problem still exists that when you make a mistake, you are painting on top of black. And there are because obviously, you know,
in terms of the seals.
Yeah, just whenever you're painting, when black and yellow, you know, my brush is going to touch the yellow a little bit with the black paint. It's not going to be. I'm not going to keep it all.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, you're talking about the seals between the joints when you're painting that.
Yeah, but they're not just. Yeah, right. Sorry, I thought you meant like obviously on the arm you've got all those different.
Yeah, that's what I'm
and the weapon. So it's not a particularly fun project. And then you've got a highlight, and then you know. Anyway, it's done, and
I really like the highlights and the blends you've got on the blue heads.
Got you.
Is that natural light or is that?
No, it's yeah. There's a fade.
Right.
You can't see it there on the blue one, but yeah, it's a tangible, like it goes from midnight blue to what?
And that's all brush. That's all brush work. Or
what is going on here?
is it?
Yeah, all brush. Obviously, when you're an old school painter like me, Lionel, airbrushes didn't exist, did they? 25. I mean, they obviously did, but Yeah, it's all brush. I don't know how to use airbrush yet. Like what? Oh, is it on random order? Why does it just keep randomized playback? Right, there you go. Now I won't have this issue, and I could have. Right, there you go. So yeah, it actually probably is a bit brighter. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, that was it. I'm really happy with the result. I'm glad they're over. I'm very glad they're done.
So how long is it taking you to do that?
I was just scrolling to see. I had some start and stops in between. Like I started it on the 10th of January, it seems.
Okay.
Yeah. So and that was like with a lot of not painting. I don't know.
Because they're sizable models, and the majority of it is yellow as well. So not the
Yeah. But that's the display of beautiful Elder.
and that's the army you intend to game with, or
Well, this is the
not?
start of the Elder project, isn't it? So obviously you'll see there's Uthwi, Beltan.
Yeah, I know that, but
Oh, game
they're all
with
different. Yeah, I thought are these just what you intending to game with these as well? Because obviously they're all different craft worlds.
yeah. Why not? Obviously, yeah. With our now and Albert, I just worry with the kid coming how much gaming time we've got to have, like in the next 8 months. Ooh, but yeah, we'll see. So, Pyro.
So my piece I did this week was Pyro. So once again, I'm playing MCP, and I try to paint something for one of the game systems I paint each week just to keep the practice going. And this is Pyro, who is one of the Brotherhood. So once again, I've been doing yellow as well this week, Jamie. The majority is yellow, and then obviously some OSL and fire effects in order to get the flame
Very
going.
nice indeed. Very nice. How did you find it? Nice volumes and all that.
Yeah, it's a good sculpt. I think once again, the key for me now, I've got, in terms of getting a good yellow, is I pick the yellow that I want, and then I mix orange and purple in with it to make the base color, which is like an ochre color.
Yeah.
And then what I do for each successive highlight is I add more of the yellow to the recipe, until the final highlight is the pure yellow. And what I'm finding then is I'm getting better harmonies between the colors than trying to find 3 different yellows and trying to layer those yellows on. So that helped in terms of my understanding of light direction. It's got better. So obviously the highlighting in terms of around the abs and the obliques and that is better because of that. The red, I used a lot of purple in order to shade, so I managed to get a decent
Harmony
contrast from there. And then once again, the fire was just a case of I knew that had to be the brightest point, so that's the only place I used a pastel yellow to make the source brighter, and then remembering where the orange goes on the hand to give that kind of OSL feel. But yeah, I was happy.
Quick tings, or did it take long?
Yeah, so it's just what I did that week. So 4 evenings, and did it. And basically what I do is I start on a Monday, get it on the table on Friday, it gets destroyed, and I rinse and repeat for the following week.
I think there's something really nice about doing things quick that really keeps you fresh and doesn't drag out. You enjoy the whole process from start to finish rather than somehow hating it or resenting it for some reason.
And what I like I said, obviously, it's well documented that I like comic IP. So painting comic book models is fun for me. But what I really like about this is obviously it's a different palette each time. So I knew
it's so different. Yeah.
I knew. You know what? Let's have some fun painting this yellow. Let's do a bit of experimentation, see where it goes. Conversely, you've had to paint 2 of them at a larger scale, where obviously it's kicked in and you've gone, oh God, I'm glad that's over with. Whereas I've had a very happy experience because I know I don't need to do them again. If I had to paint 3 of them, I might not have them. So next week I can paint a completely different palette and enjoy that. So
it's worse because I have no directional light either. All I'm doing is edge highlighting. Like it's whoever did the army is like they got the patience of a saint. They painted like 20 of these smaller ones, the Wraith Guard.
I would find it very difficult to paint that way now in terms of without dark, because I realize half the work. So obviously the piece I've done is the directional lighting in terms of where the light's coming from, which is the top right, and then obviously I've got the OSL artificial light from the fire coming on. The paint job is very simple, but because you're rendering that, your eye interprets it as better than it probably is. Whereas if I just painted that in terms of plain colors and just edge highlighted, it'd be very difficult to make that model look good.
That could be your chest for next week. But yeah, my army is shaping up nicely.
Yeah,
God,
it is actually. Yeah, yeah. I mean, going back. I mean, I know we talked about nostalgia and what you'd like to have seen. Looking at that, it does take me back to the White Dwarfs of old.
Thank you, Lionel. Thank you, mate. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it does. It genuinely does. I'm not just saying that. It genuinely does. Now, particularly as well as it's an eclectic mix, because back in the 90s, you never got, like you do in White Dwarfs now, a 2,000-point uniform painted army. You'd always have a bit of Beltan, a bit of this, or a bit of Blood, a bit of, you know, they never had big studio armies back then. They kind of just combined them.
That's the joy.
So what's on the painting desk for next week?
Well, I actually just cleaned up my desk, because, you know, after each project you clean it. Right. So I don't know. I'm going to have a look through and have a little workout what the old Bing Bang and the Bosh Bosh. I've got either
maybe crack open that Marvel United box and have a go at one of those, Jamie.
Oh, that's not a bad idea, actually.
You know what? I will if you will.
I could, yeah. All right. Do a week challenge, yeah. If my baby comes tonight, I'm fucked. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
But then again, I'm told work I'm not working.
2 weeks. Okay. Let's say in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, and let's aim for this. You do yours this week, and I'll do mine this week. But don't show me. So then, if I do mine, you're ready to also do yours.
Yeah. Okay.
Or I could just conversely do that myself. So.
Yeah. Just do 2 weeks' time, because I'm finishing off a project now, so I'm going to need at least a week.
Brilliant.
To do one of those. So yeah.
I'm all right with that. And obviously, you can email us at info@minimatters.uk. And
any topic you want us to discuss.
Anything. We can even do like family problems or like relationship troubles. We can do that for free.
Wow. Coming to Jamie for like serious topics.
Yeah. I'll be there. Don't worry. I'm like a supportive brother who you don't like. So that's us then. That is another beautiful week, Lionel. It's been a pleasure.
Another one in the can.
Oh yeah. See if we can get more than 12 views. Good thing is no one stays past this bit, so you can basically say what you like. And I think if you do it on the like literal numbers, I think 4% stayed to the end of last video, right? So 4% of 134 viewers is let's say it's roughly 5-6, right? 5 to 6 people watch to the end, so we can basically, and you know they're diehard fans, because unless they've left it on by mistake and watched all the way through. So let's say half of those views. So we've got 3 people watching this bit of the show, and I'm
to those 3 people, thank you
You're
for staying, because I've thought twice about leaving the show.
And now that you know those 3, that makes 4 people, right? 4 people are watching to the end of the show. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are now an Albert as well. So
yeah, and an mums.
Yeah, right. So that leaves pretty much no one.
Your mum, my mum. That's it.
Stuff, innit? That's it. That's so everybody. You're all dickheads, basically. You could say that they're not here watching it. If you watch this when I called you a dick, please comment just to see. That'll be. If you comment, it means you've watched to the end of the show. That's a good litmus test, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm grateful to our viewers. So
same. But I wasn't calling the people who are watching dickheads, was I? I think I was calling the people who aren't watching, which means they're not there to know. No one put the timestamp to that me in the comments. Anyway, yeah. Happy Christmas. See you all.
I've noticed now that my eyebrows are hitting the top a lot more these days with your commentary. I'm getting more worried and more concerned. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back next week. And once again, remember, we've got the other show where we share your pieces of work. If you want to be featured, remember to use hashtag Mini Matters Daily Choice in your posts on Instagram, and we'll catch you next week.